A Karen steals my seat, purposely steps on my laptop, and has her husband grab me, so I use magic to get revenge. Here's how it happened. In senior year of high school, I was taking a plane to visit my grandma. The flight went from Baltimore to Pittsburgh, and then from Pittsburgh to Vegas, and then Vegas to Boise. The flight from Baltimore was almost empty, and I was Southwest, so I could choose my own seat. And I was on the same plane until Vegas. I selected the last row of the plane by the window, put my earbuds in, and took a nap until Pittsburgh. When the plane landed, I went to the bathroom while people were getting onto the plane, and to save my spot, I left my backpack in my seat and put my jacket on the seat, and I left. When I got back, I noticed this pregnant lady was sitting in my seat and her husband sitting in the aisle seat with my jacket thrown on the ground in the aisle with my backpack underneath it with a laptop in it. I was kind of annoyed, and I pointed out that I was previously sitting in the window seat and I wanted to know if I could have my seat back.
Can't you say that I'm pregnant and I need this seat?
She said very aggressively. Then I looked at the husband and asked if he could please scoot over and sit next to his wife. This guy looked me in the eyes and said, "Sorry, but we're allowed to choose our own seats, and I chose the aisle seat." Being a high school senior, I wasn't that big of a guy, but I was still not happy about sitting in the center seat. Realizing that this was a losing argument and I wasn't going to get any leverage over this lady, I decided to grit my teeth and bear it. I collect all my stuff and move into the middle seat. The second I sat down, the lady said,
"You can't have your backpack in your seat. You're gonna have to find a place to put it."
"I'm just gonna put it under my seat," I respond.
"Where am I going to put my feet then?"
Growing up, I swore more than most people and really only watch when I say when I'm at school. Suddenly, I feel someone grab my collar. The husband pulled me inches from his face and said, "Have it your way, Walt. So here's how the rest of this is gonna play out. You're gonna sit down in that chair and listen to me talk. You're not gonna use that language to my wife or the baby. You will say you're sorry." I was shocked because not only was this guy grabbing me in public, but at the time I was only 17, so I was still technically considered a minor. But not wanting to make a big deal out of this, I just gave the lamest "I'm sorry" to the woman and put my earbuds in as the flight was getting ready to take off. While taxiing, the lady kept trying to get my attention by yelling in my ear, snapping her fingers inches from my face before she finally pulled my earbuds out.
"You need to turn your electronics off during takeoff."
She barked at me. This is when she lost it. She screamed that I was waking her unborn baby, the one that is still in her womb. She tried crushing my laptop with her foot, and that is when my evil plan formed. To truly get back at her, to hit her where it hurts, in the most genius way possible, by literally using magic. But first, what I did was, now, my dad was a pilot for 30 years and he confirmed that electronics do not interfere with communications. It is mostly a formality so that people pay attention to the emergency instructions. So I ignore her since we are literally less than a minute from taking off. In a rage, she spams the flight attendant button so that one comes over. We also had a whole takeoff until this issue was solved. The flight attendant runs over and asks, "What is wrong?" expecting an emergency.
"He won't turn off his electronics before the flight. He's trying to kill us,"
she loudly exclaimed, realizing everyone is staring at us. When the flight attendant asked me to turn it off, I obliged. After I turn it off, she starts to lecture me about how she was right and I was wrong, rubbing how the flight attendant proved her right. So the flight is in the air, and when the intercom tells me we can now use electronics, I put my earbuds back in and I crank it. About 5 minutes into the flight, I feel an aggravated tapping on my shoulder and turn and look at the woman.
"You need to turn that down. It's bad for the baby,"
she said. While I was listening to the music louder than normal, it still wasn't to the point that an unborn baby would be able to hear and be able to understand. Shocked, I responded with no. But the second she reached for the flight attendant button, I said that I would. I did the trick where you turn your volume down 2 times and then up once so that it looks like you turn it down 3 times. "Better?" I asked.
"More,"
she responded. So I went down 1 more, and before I could put my earbuds in, she said,
"It's proper etiquette get to talk to people you're sitting next to.
I just ignored her. I sit back, try to close my eyes, and amazingly, this worked. I fell asleep for about an hour. It was a 5-hour long flight. When I woke up, this woman had her foot on my backpack with a laptop in it. So I adjust my foot so that it would be uncomfortable for her to continue to keep her feet the way they were. She immediately stood up and I thought she was going to yell given her ability to overreact, but it turns out she was just getting up to go to the bathroom. She gets past me and her husband when a brilliant idea pops into my head. The second she steps into the bathroom, I get ready to get up and move my stuff over to the window seat. As I grab my backpack and shift my momentum over, I feel a hand grab me. I did not take into account the husband. "You are not taking my wife's seat," he said. "Sir, I have to warn you that you are grabbing a minor, and if I feel like it at any second, I could cry that you are attacking me or that you have made advances on me." I respond, and as he lets go, I move over to the seat that I had before. When she gets back, she is furious, demanding that I move seats now, to the point that the flight attendant comes over to see what is going on, and this time she sides with me. When she asks her husband to make me move, I look him dead in the eyes and he goes back to reading his book as she sits in the middle seat, pissed as hell. And this is when I had it. It was the last straw. I tried what I did with the husband, but now it was time to literally use the magic I mentioned before. I cursed the baby in her womb for life, or at least that's what I told her. But she actually thought it was a real curse, freaked out, started crying, screaming, throwing up, and she screamed, "I will end you!" Thankfully, I moved seats because she was up and down in her seat having to go to the bathroom every 15 minutes, and that was pretty much the rest of the flight, except how she intercepted my bag of pretzels when the drink cart came. I responded by closing the shade to the window as we started to land at the Las Vegas airport. Once I got off the plane, I went to Burger King to get a drink and some food, and then I got to my next gate to find the last seat. I scarfed down my fries and burger and walk across the hall, literally 10 feet from my seat, to throw away my garbage, and when I turn to go back to my seat, I see the same lady now sitting in the seat I had my bag in. She had moved it to the floor right in front of her. Then she shot me this smug grin, thinking she had won. Somewhat defeated by losing 2 seats to this lady, losing sleep and my patience, it was time for action. I walk over to her, gather my things, and as I got to her, I looked her dead in the eyes. I raised my right hand out, fingers spread, and hovered it right over her stomach. I look down at my hands and then back to her eyes. I tell her, completely straight-faced, "I just cursed your baby." I turn around 180, walk across the hall, and sit down on the floor staring at her intensely. Now, I don't believe in curses, nor do I think I have the ability to place a curse, but this lady believed it. Her face was left expressionless, and she just started weeping to herself as I sat and watched. When her husband came over to see what was wrong, she told him, and instantly stormed over to me and knocked the drink out of my hand, grabbed me by the collar, and got right in my face. "Listen here, you little turd." That's all he got out before security guards grabbed the man and detained him. The FAA does not mess around with who they hire. One guard asked me why this guy was angry, and I said that his wife had taken my seat, and I made a comment under my breath, and he got upset with me. The officer asked me for my name and my identification and saw that I was a minor. He asked if I wanted to press charges, and I told him yes, but that I didn't want to miss my flight. He understood and let me go. Then informed me that the Southwest airline gate attendant to please keep track of me in case we needed more information. This meant I got to get on early and I could choose the first seat I wanted, an aisle seat, to see if this lady would get on the plane since she was sitting in the same gate as my flight. She never got on the plane and the plane took off. Halfway through the flight attendant asked me if I put a curse on the baby, and I responded with, "I don't know, magic." 20 minutes later, the flight attendant came up to me and told me what happened to them. And when I found out, my jaw hit the ground. The flight attendant told me that